Hello everyone, and welcome to the Commexis Cast Daily, all the news you need to know from our inbox to yours. I'm McGrorty, the videographer and podcaster here at Commexis, and today I am joined by the lead strategist at Commexis, Phillip Brooks.
Good morning.
So our first story for today, Google is going to be extending search capabilities to iMessage and other browser apps on iOS, and this is from Ginny Marvin on Search Engine Land, as well as Google's own blog. So Google announced on Monday that they're going to be adding this to iMessage and browser apps. So if you're on iMessage, you're going to be able to go to the App Store button, and you'll be able to see some app integration with Google. So one of the nice things about this is if you click on it, I'll be showing you a nice image of what it will look like. You'll be able to get a couple different options. So for example, one of them is food. So if you click on food, you'll be able to see some local restaurants. And if you pick one of them, it will automatically insert into a message that you are going to be sending to whomever you're sending an iMessage to. And another update will add the ability to find related results in articles when reading an article in any browser on the iPhone, including Safari. You can just enable the Google Search Action extension in the Share menu and then tap it to bring up related results from Google, as you will hopefully be seeing now. But if you go on the Search Engine Land piece, they have a nice little GIF of it. So I from what I was looking at, I was not able to get this to work on my phone. I don't know if it just hasn't fully rolled out yet, or if it's only for iOS 11. But I think it's certainly interesting. I never thought of Googling something while I'm in iMessage to send to somebody, mostly because I never thought that I would be able to do it. So what do we think?
I mean, anything that makes that step from point A to point B faster, ultimately improves the user experience. If it's an intuitive step from A to B, it sounds like this might be a little clunky and unwieldy to get to that. I don't know what would make this more advantageous for me as a user if I couldn't just minimize the window with the touchscreen and then go over and copy it right out of Google's link anyway. And it doesn't seem to be particularly clear about how detailed this information is. If you just type in food, what if I want a specific type of food in an area or something like that? Is it that that broad of a search term, or how specific can you get? And how detailed are the search returns as well? Because I like the idea in theory, I just don't know how the interface potentially works. I have to see, because my phone's up to date, so I'll see if it works when we get back to our desks. But to me, it just doesn't seem like, based on the UI that's built into iMessage, if it would work particularly well. So I'd have to mess around with it to really give you a better idea of what I think of it. But I like the idea behind it. I just don't know if I necessarily think that the implementation is going to work. Yeah,
I think that's fair. And I from what I saw of, for example, the food example that they give is, it kind of looks like you just hit the food button and then local restaurants appear, though I'm assuming you'll be able to search from a different button. But what I liked about it is it was just, quick and simple. It's one of those things where I probably won't use it if I'm just having a discussion with somebody and I need to Google something, because I'll probably just Google it and then return back with search results in my own words, right? But I think for something like that, like food or movies or something like that, if that's a potential option that they have, will be at least somewhat useful. I mean, the example that you give of just going to a Google search and copy pasting, I feel like that is an extra step that always annoys me when I have to do it. So cutting out the middleman there will hopefully
that might be an age-related thing. It's so ingrained in the way that I access the web and access mobile links. For somebody who's younger like yourself, you're probably more always looking for a faster way to do that. But it's so ingrained that the way that I utilize the web, it's just not. I don't even think about it. It's just the way I would do it. So I mean, that's a good point too. People are looking for app integration and things like that. So this is along those lines, and it may be a little bit more accessible. I mean, I have Snapchat. I have no idea what I'm doing with it, and I don't know how to use it in anywhere. And none of my friends are going to read it anyway. So, for me, it's a dead platform, and I think that there's just a generation gap there with the usage, and I think that there might be the same here.
Okay, well, I think that's fair. So our second story for today, Facebook is going to be giving more than 50 publishers access to a breaking news label.
And nobody will abuse that.
So according to the announcements, publishers with access to the label can include it on instant articles, mobile and web links, and Facebook Live videos. So Facebook says that the publishers will be able to use this once a day, and then they will also have an additional pool of 5 that they can use in a given month in case there's breaking news on breaking news on breaking news. So we'll see how that works. And publishers will also be able to track analytics specifically for the breaking news stories to see how they compare. And readers will also be able to mark whether or not they think a story is breaking news by clicking on the top right of a drop-down menu. I'm interested in seeing how that works out. So according to feedback from sites that participated in a beta test from December to January, the posts, so one of the sites included was the Washington Post. They saw a 4% increase in click-through rates and comments, a 7% increase in likes, and 11% increase in shares for posts with the breaking news label. So one of the things that I first thought of when I heard about the story was, with Facebook changing their algorithm to make some posts less likely to be seen, I thought it was kind of odd that they'd be giving publishers this breaking news piece. But on the other hand, I also see, like, if I see something that's breaking news, I'd probably be more likely to engage with it. But what do we think about this?
Well, I think there's a few things that I draw from this. First of all, it would depend on how trustworthy I thought that source was to begin with, whether or not I thought that their breaking news was accurate, or the fact that the breaking news would make me engage with it any more than I would normally. I do see a potential for abusing that, and so I'm wondering what the consequences are if, of those 5, they get, a certain percentage of people are voting it down, or whatever non-Reddit based, metric you're using there, but basically saying that this isn't breaking news as far as I'm concerned. Is there some sort of consequences if they're doing that too often? It's not really clear. And I'm hopeful that they're going to eventually add a fake breaking news so that we have it for some of the other sites out there that we can just follow along with it there. So we have breaking news and then fake breaking news that we can make sure that we differentiate between the two.
Yeah, I think that's the innovative next step. I think your worry about how this will get used is pretty valid, because when I think about it, I'm assuming it will be publishers like the Washington Post, but then also when I think about a breaking news once a day, I wonder how much news would I classify as breaking news. Apparently this label will only last for about 6 hours after it's originally made, which is good. But when I think about it, I don't think of that there's breaking news every single day.
Right.
So I'm hoping that they don't use it that often.
The other big piece to this, and this is something that's in basically integral to the whole journalistic model, is the talk between breaking news and breaking a story, and 50 publishers all breaking the same story as it happens at the same time. To me, this seems like this is more of something that I would consider using for when Washington Post broke the Harvey Weinstein story, where they were the only ones that had that information at the beginning. That's breaking news. If everybody's talking about the same thing with no new channels or no new information, I don't know if that's really breaking news to me, because you can go anywhere and get the same information. So, that's a big, that's a piece that I don't fully understand yet either. If it's, obviously the tragedy that happened in Florida, everybody was talking about it. Every single news outlet had a story about it. Is that breaking news when they're all reporting the same AP sources? I don't really think so.
I think that's fair. Though you could argue that the AP,
right?
But that is obviously a different case.
For the first people to break that story, that's breaking news. For everybody else, they're just trying to catch up to the news storm. So.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I wonder if this will ever extend into local news, because I know Facebook in the past has said, especially with the algorithm update, that they want to put a little bit more emphasis on local news because people tend to care more about it. Because I feel like if something happened, obviously, locally, say, for example, in Florida like that, I feel like even if all of the local news organizations are talking about it, that is still breaking news because it's in the area. But I do understand why.
Because like let's say, for example, of these 50 publishers, one of them is, I don't know, I'm not trying to start a firestorm or anything, but there's a site that maybe you don't necessarily think does great work with their news, or their sources aren't necessarily great, or they're clearly politically biased one way or the other. is their breaking news going to be, biased in that same way as well? And is that going to be somebody that you don't want? You're going to be scrolling through and you're just like, oh, breaking news from God forbid. Well, am I going to click on that? No. So, that's what I'm talking about. I think that it's, they have to control who has access to this label, and they have to make sure that they're policing it based on, whatever criteria that they've created, and they're not really clear about what that criteria is.
Yeah, that's fair, and I'm actually surprised, at least from what I was able to find, I was not able to find who the 50 publishers were. I mean, obviously it'll become clear as they begin using this label, but I was surprised that they did not have a nice list of these 50 publishers, so I guess we'll just have to see going forward. Well, thank you everybody for tuning in to today's episode of the Commexis Cast Daily. Check us out tomorrow for more of the latest trending news. Have a great day.